Okay guys, you're in for a treat. We have a story from my own home. Actually, that's a lie. It's from our car. If you are a parent and you have more than one child and you've been driving somewhere, I'm sure that you have had a moment exactly like this. The kids are arguing about something probably really silly in the back seat and you're trying to drive and they're fighting and maybe they're calling each other names or they're like doing this one where they're like trying to slap and hit each other. Oh my God. And you're like, I'm going to crash the car. You guys are so distracting. This is dangerous. Like, oh, all of those thoughts went through my head today. I kept way calmer than I would have in the past. So number one, I am proud about that. But also, like, I have my human moments. I say that a lot in my videos and on the podcast. I talk about the fact that I am not perfect and, we have our moments where the emotions bubble over and we get overwhelmed and then we snap. However, I do think in this situation, it could have gone a lot worse. And we got home, the last part of the journey, it was like a 20-minute car ride. The last part of it, we were actually all fine and we were back to chatting and like we had music on and things like that. The chaos passed, and I remember there have been many other times when the kids were a lot younger and I didn't know about emotional intelligence and I was not very emotionally intelligent and I, was reactive. I remember so many times where I would be yelling and I would be threatening and I would be screaming and then they would be screaming, and it was just this like volcano of noise and emotion and stress. Oh my gosh, the stress. Anyway, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to jump on here. I have a bit of time. The kids, like, it's the weekend. I don't usually record on the weekends, but we have a few hours free and the kids are like watching TV and playing. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to, whilst it's fresh in my head, here we go. So number one, I want to say, please, like, validate that I'm not the only parent. I know I'm not the only parent who struggles with these moments when kids, like, you feel like you're kind of trapped, right? Because you're not able to physically get back there and separate them, even if you're the passenger, but especially if you're the driver. Like, you can't do what you can do at home, where you can get down to their level, you can talk to them, you can separate them if you need to. Like, you cannot do that in a car. Basically, yeah, you're trapped. So I think that is one of the big problems that make it just like adds stress, because we're like, well, there's very little I can do. And if I take my hands off the wheel or look around, like, that's dangerous, right? You're driving a car, a giant vehicle that's, dangerous. So you guys know what I'm talking about. The other thing I think it's important to acknowledge from a parent point of view, if you guys are listening or watching and you're like, this happens to me like every week or every day, or I hate going in the car and you dread it. Well, I think another thing to mention is that the yelling or like the volume, whatever's going on and the arguing, that is extra overwhelming in a really small space, because it's like confined and it's like, I think I used the word trapped before. Like that's what it feels like. I mean, there's only so much you can do with putting the windows down. The other thing is, like, we're trying to drive safely whilst maybe mediating some argument, like he said this, no, she said that, and then you can kind of see hands in the rearview mirror and you're like, oh my God, like, what can I do? So I totally get that this is really hard, and there's no magic wand. There's no perfect way to have your kids, like, unless you, I don't know, put like a wall up, which no one is going to do, like that's not, that's not building any skills, which I'm going to talk about. There's no way to 100% prevent these arguments from happening, because kids are going to be kids and they're going to have difference of opinions and they're going to want different things and take things the wrong way and personally, blah, blah, blah. So I also know that I think a lot of parents, me included, we can sometimes feel the pressure to like fix it before we lose our cool. We want to fix it. We want to swoop in. We want to like stop the arguments. We want everyone to get along. I get that that's a thing, right? It's kind of another piece of the puzzle that's like driving us into this state of overwhelm, because we have like such a lack of control when we're in a car. And I talked about the dangers, right? I just want to take a quick moment to acknowledge the Darug Nation. They're the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, work, and record these videos. And I pay my respects to all First Nations people, their elders and ancestors. And I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, and I stand in solidarity towards a shared future. I know from firsthand experience, and I know there's a lot of parents that I have talked to over the years with my coaching. I coach parents obviously in emotional intelligence and how to do this, and they often say kids can go from 0 to 100 and things escalate really quickly. Like it started out as she looked at me, or my husband said something the other day. I think the kids were counting coins and stuff, and he was like, oh, did you see them this morning when they were counting the coins? I was like, no. And he goes, one of them said something like, you looked at my 50 cents. And then just like, it's just like over nothing. And you're like, oh my God, that's the way kids' brains think, especially if they're in that mood. So, and I remember a friend of mine having a particular like struggle with this recently, and we had a conversation about it. It was really good. She was saying like, I didn't know whether to, number one, try and intervene, number two, try and ignore it, or number three, pull over and delay the trip and sort it out. So I think those three options, I don't know if sometimes those run through our head, or sometimes we don't even realize we have options, but we do. But also it's like difficult to know, what do I do in that moment? And I think every moment is different, because what if you're in traffic and you can't pull over, or what if you're on a highway, or, it's I get it, it's tricky. So I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. And I thought, I'm going to come on here because not that I handle things perfectly, we already mentioned that, but I am way better at handling things like conflict and arguments and fights. I'm way better than I was. I'm way better at being able to stay calm for a much longer period of time before I snap and I raise my voice and I get frustrated. I can do a whole lot more than I used to, and it's genuinely just because I have been reading, researching, and looking at video, like all this stuff around emotional intelligence. It doesn't even have to be like specifically parenting emotional intelligence, even though that's my jam and I love it, but just, dialing up, I call it, dialing up our emotional intelligence through learning is so huge. I can't even kind of explain how profound and how life-changing it is, because if you think about it, if some of these struggles you're resonating with and you have, how many times do we drive in the car, like each day or each week, right? Or each year? How many times do we have to sort arguments out with our kids? How many times do we make dinner that they don't really like? Or how many times do they have to have a shower or a bath and they don't really want to? Like, that's every day. I'm like, guys, I can't explain how every moment of the day, knowing this stuff just makes our home life and our car, our house and our car, like all of these situations, a whole lot easier than they used to ever be. Okay, so I feel like there are I was thinking about it, right? I'm like, I think there are these two main benefits of when we parent from an emotional intelligence lens. First one is, I've kind of alluded to this already, emotional intelligence helps you to stay so much more calm under pressure so that you don't snap and so that you don't escalate the chaos and add fuel to the fire when the kids are in the backseat, like fighting and arguing and it's getting out of hand. Knowing about emotional intelligence and knowing that I can sense when my emotions are building, knowing about kids' emotions and their brain development and their nervous system and how they're genuinely supposed to, take things personally, make selfish decisions, not be able to take another's perspective, make silly decisions, short-sighted decisions. Like, just knowing all of that has helped me to go, this is going to happen. It's supposed to happen. We're in the thick of it. We're in the messy years. Like, the kids are 8 and 10. They're not yet cognitively mature enough. They don't have the social and emotional skills, which my husband and I have most of the time, to not descend into chaos when we disagree. So number one, this is such a huge one. Knowing and learning about emotional intelligence helps you to stay calm under pressure for a longer period of time. It might mean that obviously eventually you snap because you're human and people do, we have emotions for a reason. We can't be Zen monks all the time. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, it definitely has helped me to stay calmer for a lot longer. I can put up with a lot more. Disclaimer, I don't want people to think that I put up with, crap and name calling or being attacked or anything. Like, no, I'm saying arguments or disagreements or big emotions, I can put up with that for a lot longer than I used to. Second huge outcome or change that's happened since I've been working on my emotional intelligence is that it helps shift my mindset in every single kind of situation with my kids and with my husband, actually. Shifts my mindset from this needs to stop or I need to get this to stop right now, or cut it out. Like, that's enough. I've shifted my mindset from that to this is a moment, an opportunity where I can teach my kids some skills for life. It's like a window. It's an opportunity. It's a moment. It's a time. It's a chance for me to go, this is a tricky thing. I need to teach my kids about this because they're going to have tricky things throughout life. All right. And I'm actually going to talk about that. The fact that I mentioned to the kids, one of the things I'll talk about soon is like, we need to be able to know how to take a break from someone when they are pissing you off. How to take a break from someone when you're not getting anywhere, when you're just going around in circles. Like, think about how game-changing that is, and the amount of conflicts that would be either reduced or avoided, or they wouldn't explode into, yelling and door slamming if we were able to notice how we were feeling in a disagreement with someone. Because disagreements don't often start out as a big explosion. We start out little and we're like, no, that's not okay. Or why didn't you? Or, well, I forgot to, and like, they start little, but then they build. Imagine if you were able to notice that your emotional state, your nervous system was building, dysregulation and the overwhelm or the stress. Like, imagine noticing that building and then being able to go, we're not getting anywhere, or I'm getting overwhelmed, or this isn't helping, or, we're not seeing eye to eye. And I think I need to take a break. We'll come back to this. We will revisit it. Like, give me a second, or, I need a moment. I need a minute, something like that, right? Let's take a break, basically. Oh my God. If I had learned that as a kid, I don't know, like how different would so many interactions be with my husband, with the kids, like with people, we get triggered all the time. It's going to happen. So that's what I want to be teaching my kids. And to go back to one of my original points, like the two main benefits of dialing up your emotional intelligence is that you stay calm. It helps you to stay much calmer for longer under pressure. And also it helps you shift your mindset from this needs to stop. Let's cut it out. Like, that's it. No, done. Almost like squashing the situation, nipping it in the bud, squashing the emotions, pushing them down. From that to, here's an opportunity. Here's a window. I can help my kids here. I can help them through this situation that's happening right now. But also I can teach them stuff that they're going to use for life. This is why I say, gosh, I wish this stuff was in schools. And I've started going to schools and talking to educators and teachers about this, because I'm like, hello, we need to learn. We need to be able to do this ourselves so that we can model it and teach it to the kids. Otherwise, it's like the blind leading the blind, Okay, so I've also realized that dialing up my emotional intelligence has meant, obviously I've said I'm less reactive. So I can pause before I respond rather than just reacting. That's a huge one. I've also realized that I'm so much better able to co-regulate with my kids. That is me using my calm, regulated nervous system to regulate and shift the balance in their dysregulated nervous system, right? Otherwise, to like a dysregulated nervous system meeting another dysregulated nervous system, like it's just adding fuel to the fire and we end up in an explosion. But if I'm calm, then I can come in and shift the balance and the emotional state of my kids, right? Or my husband. I've also realized that, as I said before, dialing up my emotional intelligence has helped me to shift my mindset and treat fights or conflict or arguments as teachable moments, not just like naughty kids, misbehaving kids, behavior problems, and that kind of stuff. I think the more that we accidentally fall into those old, outdated beliefs and that old lens of seeing behavior, like the kids are arguing, we can't drive anywhere, like they're just naughty, they need more consequences. Like the more that we continue to believe that, the more that we like lean into using consequences and threats and like, punishment. I have been there. I just want to say, like, if you're like, oh my God, I do that, you turn around and you're like, right, if you guys keep arguing, no one gets TV for the rest of the day. Like obviously we know that's not ideal. It's not productive. It's not helpful. But I just want to say, bing, I've been there too. I have done all that stuff. Not proud of it. That was where I was in those moments. It's just that now I know a little bit better and I've been, working on this stuff. I think it's also really important to actually help kids to name their feelings. I know it sounds so simple. Express their needs and manage conflict with words. Like, I'm feeling this way. You said that. I didn't. Like, it's okay for people to argue and for people to say, that's not how I remember it, or you did this. And like, people are going to have different perceptions. I said to the kids today, as we were getting in the car, because it actually started at the cafe, and then I was getting 2 takeaway coffees. I brought one home for my husband, and then I had one in the car. And that's where it started, and it continued into the car. And I remember telling the kids, like, guys, you're going to have different experiences or different, not recollections, I don't think I use that word, but like, you're going to see things differently from one another. That's okay. Like, you guys get to tell me what started this and like why you're upset or why you're mad. I will help you sort it out. So it's almost like most of the time I think we back off and we're like, no, like, I don't want the argument, like, shut it down, that kind of thing. I tend to now actually like lean in and I'm like, I want to hear your side. Hey, I'm going to get to your side too. Give it time, like, you know, and then I can, I think this happened today. One of them was saying, he did blah, blah, blah. And then they were just like squabbling at the cafe. And then the other one was looking at me like, no, that's not true. She's making it up. That didn't happen. And I was like, it's okay. I get it. I'm listening to her and then I will listen to you. Like, you just have to, I feel like now that I see emotions and behavior and my kids differently than I did, that stuff doesn't trigger me as much anymore. I'm like, I know, yeah, you're going to be like, she's lying. Like, you're going to be, you know, upset about it and feel like you're not being, you know, the other person is lying, but I'm like, that's okay. You have time. Like, let me handle it. I've got this, you know, it's not my first rodeo. Anyway, another thing that I think is really helpful to remember is that when you're working on your emotional intelligence, this helps you to set respectful boundaries rather than like the threats and the bribes and the yelling and stuff like that. We're creating this culture in our family, this culture of emotions are okay, but not all behavior is. Like, disrespect isn't, kind of thing. We don't do name calling, like that's jumped on pretty quick. And it's just that we call them out on it. We don't go, how dare you call your sister a butthead? Like, that is the worst. You know, we don't shame them and stuff like that, but we're like, hey, that's where we draw the line. So I love that people still think, you know, emotional intelligence is raising soft, fluffy kids or kids who just like get to be all emotional and, you know, have no boundaries. I'm like, no, are you mad? Like, you don't know. That's okay. You just don't know yet. And maybe one day you will, but yeah, lots of assumptions. We really can't forget that every single day we are able to model emotional maturity to our kids and emotional intelligence and handling disagreements and conflict. We're modeling how to problem solve. I love this idea that instead of teaching our kids, this is how to solve a problem, when someone isn't doing what you want or they're not listening to you, then you make them suffer and you force them or you punish them or you hurt them or hit them. Like, getting away from that and going, actually, when someone isn't listening to you or doing what you want, you take the time to slow things down and you treat them respectfully and you communicate and you find solutions, like ways to solve the problem and find out why aren't they listening or why do they see things differently, rather than like, I'm just going to force you. It's like, okay, let me see how we can kind of find some mutually beneficial solutions. That's the stuff that we're modeling, and it makes such a difference. Now, this is possibly my favorite like point and realization from the whole situation. And I only realized it, I'm going to say, a couple of years ago, because it's something that I didn't really experience as a kid. I don't remember it. I don't think I was ever kind of taught it. And I think it's such a powerful skill. Just it's emotional intelligence, but it's also like just a relationship skill, right? So this applies to like adults, kids, everyone. I'm teaching my kids how to take a break from someone who's upsetting them rather than just keep going, pushing through, arguing louder or getting more fierce or aggressive. I'm actually teaching them, if it's not going anywhere, if you're finding yourself in a cycle or a loop, or you're like hitting a brick wall, take a break. Take a break from that person, take a break from the situation, take a break from the room you're in. Like if it's at home, let's physically get some space. And I reminded my kids that today in the car. Like we talked about looking out the window and taking deep breaths. We talked about thinking about something else. We talked about putting the music on and things like that. Like I remember telling my kids, even Daddy and I, if we are having a disagreement or an argument, we have to be able to know and like almost tag out kind of thing, take a break from the situation or the discussion or the person so that you can cool off and so that you can calm down and so that it gives you like this space to consider the other person's point of view and why they are so passionate about whatever their side is or what they're trying to say. When you're in the argument or you're like in the thick of it, you're in the eye of the storm and you don't have that perspective. Like you just get locked onto your point and why the other person is wrong and why you're right. And like, that's why we just go back and forth and it's like this brick wall. So I think it's something I only realized a few years ago. It's something that I wish I got taught when I was younger. And I think all kids should be taught this stuff. I think it should be in schools. I think like emotional intelligence should just be, something we are taught rather than bloody, I don't know, algebra or all the presidents of I'm just like, this stuff we actually need from when we are little as kids right through to the day we die. So if I kind of sum it up, emotional intelligence really helps you as a parent to kind of zoom out in these stressful situations and to realize, number one, very often, especially in the car situations, right? We're often reacting because we have this sense of like it's really inconvenient and we don't have time for it and we can't control it, but also like a time crunch. Like if we're supposed to be somewhere. I actually think this is inconvenient. So a lot of parents don't do it or will feel like they can't, but it's safer and more emotionally productive to pull over, to maybe be late and to actually sort things out. Like you're teaching your kids in the moment how to reset and how to cool down and take a break rather than just like pushing to be on time or to like squash the situation or squash the emotions. I promise you this stuff it helps in the moment. It helps like in the now when our kids are younger and we're living with them and there's all the, the challenges of parenting. But I just can't state it enough that this stuff is going to give your kids skills for life that I want to say they'll thank you for one day, but they might not even realize, because imagine if it just becomes normal to them. Okay, if you've been listening or watching and you're like, this sounds really good, like, but I can't do it, it's not how I was raised, or this is really hard. I want to say, I feel you. Hello, like I am in that basket too. And yet it is so possible because there's so much help and support and information about it now that was not around in like the 80s, when we were younger. If you are resonating with and you love it and you think, I like watching these videos or listening to this podcast, please check out the courses I have on my website. They go deeper. They keep you accountable. They are hand-holding. They give you all the information. There are like resources and checklists and tons of stuff that goes along with it. They are really easy to complete. Like at home in your own time, you can stop and start. They're short little videos. I keep it really doable and really manageable. And this is where I see parents saying, oh my God, I did this sooner. I wish I gave it a go. I wish I just took that next step, because now I can actually see the difference in my family and it's making a huge, huge difference. So that's my invitation for you before I jump off is please go on just my website, stephaniepinto.com/courses is where you'll find all the courses. Or you can, if you think, I don't know if I want to do a course yet, why not pick up a copy of From Chaos to Connection? That's my book, and it's all around how emotional intelligence in parenting helps raise kind, confident, resilient kids. And of course, there's a lot of stuff about us and our emotional intelligence as parents, and especially if we weren't raised that way. Like, yeah, there's lots out there. There's so much that you can do, and it just takes like that one next step. Just like keep taking one little step. It's like a lifelong journey. You don't have to like have this huge transformation. Give yourself time. Just bite off little chunks. And yeah, I would love to hear how you go. Please, if you have taken something away from this episode or this video, I would love if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my videos. And if you are listening on the podcast, then you can do like a rating, you can follow the podcast, you can put a review, all of that stuff. I know it takes time, and I am sure you watch other YouTube channels or listen to other podcasts, and I totally get that. but it does help each of them grow. So if you take something away from even others channels and podcasts, give them a little review or give them a little like or a subscribe. It actually really helps us all. We put a lot of time into these videos and audios and stuff like that. And yeah, it means a lot when we know people are listening and they're getting something out of it. All right. Have a great rest of your day or your week, wherever you are. And I will see you very soon for the next one.